Hello, friend, and welcome to episode number 15 of the VIP Collective. Are we ready to roll?
You bet.
Are you excited to be here?
I am excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So I'm going to do a brief intro for everybody who is...
Is it rolling already?
It's rolling.
Oh, boy.
It's on. This is game on. So I'm going to do a brief
Amazing.
intro for everybody who's listening and watching, since we are both video and audio.
Amazing.
And may need some help with your last name, but for everybody... We are here today with Dr. Andreia Horta.
Yes. Horta.
Horta. Actually, not bad. Horta.
Yes. Horta.
Horta. Okay, and so you are a naturopathic doctor.
Yes.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you in is because obviously, you know, we're working with a wedding audience and we've known each other for a couple of years. And so every once in a while when I see you, I kind of give you a briefing on, even just in passing, if I say, oh, it was a 14-hour day we just worked. And I can always see your eyes getting so big because you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Does she know, like, is she eating properly? Does she know, like, and you're always giving key pieces of advice. And so
That's right.
Every time I talk to you, I'm always inspired, and you always teach me something. And so I thought it would be amazing to have you come on and maybe give a little bit of knowledge to our viewers who are in the industry, and also some brides, on things they can kind of keep in mind when we're all working 15, 16, sometimes 17-hour days, which I did in July, which was a record.
17 hours.
17 hours. 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. was the toll for that day. It was pretty crazy. And so I thought it would be just beneficial to have you come in and chat with us a little bit about what we can do to stay healthy, number one. I think one of the reoccurring themes is that our guests really say how physically demanding the job is, and how sleep sometimes is lacking because if you're doing back-to-back weddings. So there's lots of stuff we'll get into, which I'm excited to dive into with you. But for now, I'd like you to take over and just kind of give everyone a briefing of who you are and what you do.
Okay, so thank you for that intro.
Yeah.
So I'm a naturopathic doctor, as you said, and as a naturopathic doctor, we're medically trained. So it's about 8 years of school, but we're naturally focused, which means we like that the body can actually go into its own normal balance versus just giving like a pill for an ill. You've probably heard of this,
Yes.
right? So if you have a headache, you take something and it goes away within the next day, but you haven't really treated the root cause. Whereas a naturopath, we do a little digging, we try to figure out what's the cause of that headache, right?
Okay.
And we kind of fix that way, and we go inside to come out, basically.
Okay.
Start treating the inside of the body and getting yourself back to normal. And in cases where, like you're saying, you're party planners, where you're going nonstop, there's no clear fix. It's more of a supportive role, right? What kinds of foods, what kind of nutrients, perhaps what kind of herbs, what kind of vitamins, what types of things can actually support you while you're going through that.
Yes.
Just like when we were in medical school,
Yep.
we were on everything. We were on vitamins, we were on fish oil, we were on herbs, adaptogen herbs for stress, because we needed them, because the stress wasn't going to end.
Was it also your way to test what you were taking to see if it was working for you so you could recommend it?
Yeah.
A little bit?
At that time, yeah, there's probably a lot of testing. We did a lot of diet testing, like, let's go on an elimination diet, let's go on a gluten-free diet.
Okay,
and
so
see
maybe
what
we
happens.
can. I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun. Okay, so let's start, and there's gonna be a number of things we'll dabble into, but let's start with the idea of either a planner, photographer, anybody in the industry who's going to be working a 15-hour day like the next day. Let's say it's Saturday. What happens on a Friday that you would recommend for us to prepare in order to, number one, give ourselves enough energy for the actual day of the event, and what's going to make us feel good? Like, what's kind of going to be a good thing to eat prior to the wedding day or event day?
I was thinking about this because we talked about and you had kind of planted the seed about this question, and I was thinking, I kind of like the idea of like preparing before the actual date. So the week of, start doing 3 basic things. And those 3 things, one of them involves the food, like you're mentioning. One of them involves a mind reset, which would be some breathing. And the last one involves some body movement. And it doesn't mean that you need a gym. So I'll go through all 3 of those. This is kind of what I came up with when you asked me.
Okay, for sure. And I think that's the important thing to know, is that you're not just solely food and dietitian or anything like that. You are also working on mindset, body. It's a full scale as a naturopathic
right. It's a holistic
doctor.
practitioner.
Yes.
So we do a lot of lifestyle. We do a lot of nutrition. We do acupuncture. We do a lot of supplementation. We look at hormones. We look at blood results, lab results. So yeah, we even do urine tests, stool tests.
Wow.
It's really cool stuff.
Okay.
So that kind of brings me back to, okay, if if you know you're going to have a big weekend coming up and you're going to be all day and you want to be at your peak, getting ready for that day is probably the best. And so I would start with like your diet first thing. Every meal that you have must have a balance of 3 nutrients, which is your protein, your carbs, and your fat. I see this so often. People will go, I have patients that they'll go to Starbucks and they'll have just oatmeal for breakfast. And everyone's like, yeah, oatmeal is so good for you. But oatmeal is just a carb. That's what it is. It has a little bit of fiber. Some of the instant oatmeal doesn't even have that much fiber, so it's not even that especially good for you. But that's mainly just a carb, right? So where's your protein and where's your fat? Because these other nutrients are what your body needs in times of stress.
Okay.
So that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. Whenever you're under a higher stress state, your body needs more protein, about 3 times more protein.
Okay.
Because it's using it, right? Breaking down tissue in order for you to produce energy. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Protein, it needs magnesium, it needs vitamin C and B vitamins. So I'm not telling you to go buy these things because you really have to make sure that you compare it to whatever you're taking, right? So if you're on supplementation already or if you're on medications, you don't want to just go out and buy these things. You really want to be managed carefully.
Okay.
But that's usually what happens when you're under high stress. Those things get turned over really quickly, usually about 3 times quicker.
Okay.
So having enough protein throughout your day, especially the days before as well as the day of, will make a big difference in terms of energy.
So does a protein shake count as the protein needed, or do you mean more meats and what else is protein?
Yeah, so that's the other big question, right? Because everyone's like, okay, so I need a protein, carb, and fat. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people don't know. So you're totally right. A protein powder is great.
Okay.
Love
Could you
protein
add that
powder.
to oatmeal?
Yes,
Could,
that's
right?
actually, I created a whole list of different options for breakfast.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share that with your
please
team.
do.
Yeah. So one of them is 100% a shake, and the shake
Okay.
you'd have your oatmeal, which would be your carb, right? And you want like rolled oats. You don't want this instant.
You don't want the instant because there's sugar in that, which is one of the reasons I gave up oatmeal, was that because I was using the instant.
Yeah.
And there was sugar that I decided that I was going to eliminate that and
Good.
kind of stick to more protein with eggs and things like that. But if you use rolled oats and a protein powder and some water, you're probably lessening your sugar intake.
Yes, that's 100%. It still has a little bit of sugar, but still lower because it has higher fiber.
Right.
That's the other really nice nutrient that we know. We want to have high fiber. If you have high fiber, it feeds your gut bacteria, and your gut bacteria is what makes your brain healthy.
Okay.
There's the whole gut-brain connection, which we're not going to talk about today, but that's one of the reasons why I'm always, like, if you ever follow me on Instagram or anything, I'm always talking about fiber. Every
Yes.
time you eat, make sure you have fiber.
Yes.
Because it's really helping your gut bacteria.
True.
But back to the protein. So you have your protein powder as one option. So you can throw that into a shake, right? And so your shake would be your protein powder. You'd have some type of like blueberries, like a cup of some type of frozen fruit, let's say. Okay. And I always add a green vegetable to it too. So something.
Spinach or
yeah, you can do
avocado?
spinach.
Is that weird?
Yeah,
weird.
but it's more of a fat though, so it wouldn't be considered a carb.
Got you.
Because you have your protein powder, then you'd have your fruit would be a carb, and your spinach would be a carb too. Romaine lettuce, arugula. You could even do any type of like kale, baby kale. Any of those like loose, even like leaf lettuce you could throw in there. See, in times of an event like the one that you have, those long days, I would say if you have to like lose the fruit and lose the vegetables, lose it and just have your protein.
Just have the protein water.
Have the protein or have the collagen directly because it's going to sustain your energy and it's going to keep you full.
Amazing.
Right? Because every time cortisol goes up, that stress hormone, cortisol, adrenaline, we're supposed to have that stress hormone to come down. But unfortunately, with these crazy days and our lifestyles just getting more hectic, our cortisols aren't getting balanced. It's kind of got a chronic state of like heightened cortisol.
Right.
And so if you have that protein, it actually helps calm the body down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Boosts you up.
So I've done a lot of times before a big event day on a weekend, I will do eggs and a protein shake. So I am like, I don't know if I'm overkilling it here, but I'm like full when I walk out. And because a lot of times we won't eat again until 9 p.m. on average.
Wow.
The other thing, so sticking kind of with the oats. So the other thing that I like to do is I have a cooler that plugs into the car, which keeps it cold.
So smart.
I'm kind of like the mama bear. So
smart.
Usually I go out and I'm buying treats and stuff like that for the guys to have halfway through after the ceremony, just to kind of repower. Now I always have an issue kind of figuring out what's best to have. So a lot of times I'll go with the granola bar, but again, we've got the sugars. They are the protein ones, but I don't know if they kind of cancel each other out. You know, you get the protein, but then you're getting the sugar. Maybe they're canceled. I'm not sure. So would some of the energy balls, like those rolled oats, would that be a good snack to have on a wedding day because of the fiber and the protein?
Yeah, and also the fat, right? Because we want to
fat.
have all that balanced in. Protein, carbs, and fat all balanced in.
Okay.
And then the fiber is extra.
Okay.
You know, fiber is specifically more for people that are trying to lose weight, keep energy sustained, and also detoxify.
Okay.
Yeah, but if for an event day like that, you just want those 3 nutrients. So like, for example, a bliss ball, like what you're talking about.
Is that what you say?
Is
Bliss
that what
ball?
you, yeah, those
I
like
don't know.
little
I could say
balls.
energy balls.
Energy balls, yeah. I mean, you can call them energy bites, but I mean, you can make them in any way you want. You can just use some almond butter. You can use coconut butter in there, rolled oats, gluten-free. What else could you add in there? Like maybe just 1 date. You'd have to do it in a food processor.
Right.
I tried to do it without it. It just didn't roll the same way.
Yeah.
But if you put it through like a blender of some sort, then it rolls up nicely and you can make different sizes.
Okay.
And you just leave them overnight. So one of the holistic nutritionists that I follow, she's called Oshi Glows, www.oshiglows, OHSHEGLOWS.com. She has so many examples of those little bliss balls, and they're great. High fat, high protein. If she doesn't have protein in there, just add protein powder into the mix, and then you have your protein ball.
And fast to make.
Yeah,
Right.
well, 15 minutes.
Right.
And it's not very long. You just have to leave them overnight so that they get harder. Otherwise, they're kind of mushy, you know, because it's just fat. It's
Okay.
like, so, but it gives you lots and lots of energy. So you have one and then you're sustained for a good 2-3 hours, right? And then you can have another one. And that's what I was going to suggest for the day of when you're actually at the event. Having little snacks like that, smaller size snacks, is the way to go. Or maybe even some, with trail mix. So with like coconut flakes, pumpkin seeds, pecans, something more along the nut without too much of the dried fruit. Because the dried fruit has the crazy sugar. Yeah, exactly. But just something that you can just munch on a little bit just to keep your energy going. Because if you have 8 or 9 hours without eating and then you eat a big meal afterwards, that's not going to feel too good.
What happens if people are snacking on treats, sugars, gummies? Are they going to crash? Around 4 or 5, are they going to start to, is their levels going to send them into like a different mode?
A different mode. So basically, as soon as you eat sugar, within, let's say, even like a minute, the sugar starts to absorb into your bloodstream. And let's say within the first half hour that you've had it, your blood sugar spikes and you have this like really nice high and you're like, oh, I'm so high and happy because of the sugar. But then automatically it crashes because it gets burned up really quickly. Like the body uses it really quickly, so it drops. And so instead of you having this nice balanced blood sugar, which gives you sustained energy, when you take protein and fat, it gives you that balanced energy. Your blood sugar spikes up with the sugar and then drops all the way down. So now you have low blood sugar. So then you're hungry again. Right. You're craving something else. And that's when usually you start seeing people get really irritable and just they're off, and they can't understand why. And you could just test it. And I've been telling more and more now, we're using the whole idea of intuitive eating, kind of test it, eat it, and then see how you feel afterwards, Does it actually give you energy, or do you feel like, oh, I'm so irritated right now. I feel like I need something else, but you don't know what, If you're doing that, then you're eating the wrong food.
So sticking with energy, what about coffees? What about coffees, Red Bulls, water? Because a big thing is wedding hangover, we call it.
Yes.
Which is the next day we're all dehydrated because we've been running around all day not realizing we're not drinking water. And the next day we wake up with headaches and our feet hurt and all of these symptoms. So what's something from a beverage perspective that you suggest? Is coffee dehydrating us or is it energizing us? What's it doing?
See, it's so crazy. So coffee is an amazing thing. It's a stimulant. So every time you drink coffee, it actually stimulates your adrenals. So you have these like two spongy organs on the back, on top of your kidneys, and they're the ones that pump out adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone. Every time you drink coffee, you're stimulating those guys. You're saying, go, gotta move. And that's why you feel so alert and awake. It's a stimulant. It's a, external stimulant. So when you have one specifically in the morning, when it matches your natural rhythm of your own body's rhythm, so first thing in the morning, your cortisol is high normally. It's normally high, and then throughout the day, it slowly tapers off until you go to bed. Right? So if you have a coffee during that time, it makes sense. It matches the rhythm. It's not taxing on the body, right? In fact, there's some research that shows that coffee could be very protective for the liver. Hepatologists will actually say have at least one coffee a day because it stimulates that secretion of the liver and the pumping of the liver. But when you go into like 2 or 3, and I have some patients that even have 4 cups of coffee, it's not that it has a little bit of water, so it does have a little bit of water in the mix of the coffee, but in terms of being a diuretic, usually you'll lose B vitamins, you'll lose magnesium when you drink too much coffee, like these minerals that you actually need. It's kind of like an electrolyte, right? You've heard of electrolytes for races. And for that day, you actually need to be on some type of electrolyte because you're going nonstop. You're sweating without even knowing, right? You're using all these little minerals for each of those chemical reactions in your body that you're not even aware that you're doing, right?
Okay.
Hence why you feel so dehydrated. So is coffee good first thing? I would say, have one in the morning if you enjoy it. But then after that, drop the coffee completely.
Stick with water.
Water, or I actually made a little electrolyte mix that I thought would be interesting, kind of do it yourself, where you just take, like, let's say you take a liter bottle of water and you add half a lemon and you add half a tablespoon of maple syrup.
Ooh.
Pure maple syrup.
Okay.
So maple syrup is actually a complete electrolyte. It has all your B vitamins like B6, B3, B2. It has magnesium in it. Yeah, the pure maple syrup is actually really good for you. But of course, we have to watch out for the sugar. So that's why I say just have half a tablespoon and use it throughout your day. And then you want to do a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of baking soda.
In the drink?
Oh. In the drink. And if you wanted to make it a little bit like hot, I would add just a little dab of cayenne pepper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you mix it, and that becomes your full electrolyte. So lots of sodium in there, right? Lots of B vitamins. Yeah, so it's kind of like a do-it-yourself. Obviously, if you have sodium issues or if you have blood pressure issues, you might not want to do it because it's going to increase your sodium, and that will increase your blood pressure.
What if you're pregnant? Is that fine?
Yeah, if you're pregnant,
right?
It all depends on where your blood pressure is at. So just check with your doctor,
Right.
Should I be having sodium or not?
Right.
Yeah.
So what's a remedy for the day after?
So, okay, well, even for the day of, I mean, if you're drinking water and you're drinking this electrolyte mix, I even wrote down Vega. Do you know Vega?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, they have a hydrator pack, and I've given that to patients that go traveling because you're out during the day and you're sweating and everything. So just putting a little bit of those electrolyte mixes all throughout your day, you won't feel hungover the next day at all. Like, you won't feel tired. If you're actually maintaining your energy levels and the cells are getting what they need, they won't feel depleted, right? And that also ties into how much water you're having. Right. So like one key trick that I like to use, it's from the Academy of Sports Medicine. It's in the States. And what they suggest is 37 mils times your kilogram in weight.
Okay.
So let's say if you're like 60 kilograms, times your 37 mils, on average, it's about 2.4 liters of water.
Okay, so to break that down.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, wait a minute. This is doctor talk. In pounds, what's an equivalent in pounds? Because I live in this millennial pound world.
Okay, so 140 pounds would be about 70 kilograms. So 70 times 37 mils would be 3 times 7, about 2.5 liters.
Okay.
2.5 liters. And most people do not get that. That's the minimum requirement for hydration. Not to add, if you add activity, like for example, the day that you guys are on, you're like nonstop moving. Mm-hmm. They actually ask to add an additional 100 mils, 100 to 150 mils every 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So that's an extra cup an hour.
See, the challenge is if you drink that much, especially on a wedding day, you're going to be in the bathroom more than doing your job.
I know.
So this is the challenge we face with that.
I know.
But I mean, there's not a lot you can do with that. Sometimes you don't even know, though. I think when you drink a lot and then you're just go,
mm-hmm.
you don't stop for a bathroom break. You know?
Right.
It's more of when you're sitting and then you're all of a sudden things are moving and you're like, okay, now I've got to go to the washroom.
Yeah.
But this can be a challenge.
No, I think one of the things that I try to get people is like, the thing is like in the beginning, your bladder is really, really small because it's not used to that amount of water, but it has stretch receptors.
Right.
So when you start drinking more often, that's why I'm like, okay, prepare yourself the week before.
Body training.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to the breakfast.
Yes.
Just before we switch topics, because I know we kind of talked a little bit about the oats and the oatmeal. What else would be beneficial for someone to have either day of or preparing for the next day?
So the main thing was you have to have a protein, a carbohydrate, and a fat. So some sources of protein that you could have would be protein powder, like you said. Mm-hmm. You had mentioned you were having eggs, right? So eggs would be a source of protein. Mm-hmm. One thing that I wrote down was something like a turkey sausage or venison sausage. Mm-hmm. At different healthy butchers, you can get like bison, venison, you can get grass-fed beef, but little tiny sausages, which are delicious.
Yep.
And I also wrote down, those are the 4 things. So,
if you're vegetarian or vegan, is a protein shake the best option for your
breakfast?
protein?
Yeah, as a vegetarian, it's a little bit more tricky. I always say it's better just to get a protein powder and then just eat your vegetables.
Right.
Because at least you'll get a complete protein. Because most of the time, this is what people don't know, for like 1 piece of complete protein in a piece of chicken, you would need 4 to 6 cups of quinoa.
Oh, wow.
To actually get the same complete essential amino acids that your brain needs for stress and for actually doing activities. Okay. So as vegetarians, you have to really know what you're doing to get that complete source, of protein. So that's why I always say just buy a product that you trust, like a good brand, like for example, Vega's a good brand, or there's a company that I like, Precision Natural. They're really good too. Okay. And they're pretty affordable, like $25.99 for a protein powder. Okay. And it would be complete, right? It's a complete protein source. So when you're drinking that, they've already done, the rice plus the peas plus whatever it is, the combination that they needed to give you a complete source of protein. Okay. So you'd want to have that plus whatever you want to have, So that would be a good option for you. But so basically you have your protein, and then your carbs could be a fruit or some greens. I always tell you to have greens anyways, because greens have the highest amount of nutrients like magnesium and calcium and potassium. All these like little minerals and nutrients are used for energy reactions in your body. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build up so that your body can work well and efficiently. Okay. Right? And then the last one is fat, having some healthy fat in there.
What's some examples?
So healthy fat. So one of them would be olives. I always throw olives in the morning. I'll saute kale, make scrambled eggs, and throw some olives on top.
Green or black?
The ones that I usually get mixed. I get the mixed brown, black.
Oh, there's brown too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
So that would be like a healthy. And then you could also do something like an almond butter or a pumpkin seed butter. Peanuts I don't really love too much because they have higher can't talk right now, mold. Yeah. So they have higher mold or high yeast buildup, so that's why, and they cause a lot of allergens. So for people that are allergic, I usually stay away from that. Okay. Another one would be like coconut oil. Yep. So this morning I fried some eggs and I used coconut oil on low heat. Right? Because you don't want it to burn really quickly. So cooking on low heat is really, really important. Okay. As often as you can. And then even just olive oil. Right? So those are all healthy fats. So you have a protein, a carb, and a fat, and you have this balance. That balance of those nutrients is what keeps your blood sugar sustained for a long time. If I eat balanced for 3-4 hours, I'm not hungry at all. I don't even think about food. My brain is supercharged. It's fuel food because you have such nutrient dense items that are going into your body. And as you know, most of the stuff, nothing comes from a package or a box. It's coming from the earth.
Yep.
So when you absorb it, your body actually knows how to break it down. You know, that's the problem with a lot of these packaged goods, even the bars, you have to be so careful with, because when you look at the ingredients, if there's all those additives in there, how long is it going to take your body to break it down? You know, and some of the things we don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
You know,
that's something that I put in my cooler. So that's one of is Cliff bars.
Cliff bars, yeah.
Now, back and forth, the sugar intake's high. They have the protein, and they seem to work, and they taste okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of get us through.
They're a cleaner of the bar for sure, 100%.
Well,
and also, you need the energy because you're moving around.
Yeah.
You're not just, eating
sweating.
a Cliff bar and sitting down, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what Cliff was made for.
Yeah.
Cliff was made for active lifestyles.
Right.
So for the day of the event.
Because the guy's climbing the mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
He's climbing a cliff.
Literally.
Yeah.
And that's technically what you're doing. You're
Right.
moving nonstop. If I had patients literally commuting to work for an hour, sitting at their desk for 7 hours, then commuting home for an hour, that's almost 9 hours of sitting. No, do not have a Cliff bar.
Gotcha.
Absolutely not. Have your collagen with your water, just drink it back and you'll feel satisfied. Or have your protein powder with your water, drink it back and you'll feel satisfied.
So these protein bars are made for active lifestyles. They are not made for your food replacement on when you sit for an extended period of time, because then you're not burning anything. You're just taking it all in and eating sugars.
And they're harder to digest, right? Because it's all this like raw stuff patted down into this block.
Right.
So when your body digests it, it doesn't break it down right away. It takes a while, right? It's the same thing with eating too high fat. If you eat too much of one thing, like fats and these protein bars, it's harder to digest.
Yeah.
So you'll actually feel weird. You might get like just a tummy bloated because it's sitting there waiting for your body to digest it. Because the biggest thing that I notice is that when you're under stress, you have two nervous systems. You have the nervous system that's fight or flight, go, 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 right? It gets you going, it gets you moving. And the time of the day, right, when you're actually working. It's kind of like, imagine if you're being chased by a bear, right? That's your fight or flight. But then you have the other side of the nervous system, which is your rest and digest. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. And so they're two totally different systems. When you're under stress, there's no way, if you try eating when you're driving, for instance, when you're under stress, you're not going to digest the food very well. Because all the secretions of acid and all those enzymes that break down food, that's halted. Your body thinks it's under stress.
Right.
Right? It wants to get you out of there. It's not thinking, oh, let's digest this really well for her. No.
Is that why people aren't hungry when they're stressed? You know how people can go a full day and I'm not hungry at all because their body is in this fight or flight mode?
100%.
Right.
The biggest difference is that, if you imagine like a little rabbit and a fox, a little rabbit runs away from the fox, running. Oh my God, the fox chasing after him, finds a little hiding spot. He hides and he rests. And so he goes from fight or flight nervous system into rest and digest. That's beautiful. And then he comes out to play and he's okay. But for us as humans, we're waking up in the morning, especially on a busy party day like the ones that you have. You're waking up in the morning and you're constantly up with stress. Fight or flight all day long. You don't have the reset.
Right.
That's the issue, right? So then the stress hormones are up, stomach acid secretion is down, enzyme secretion, pancreatic secretion is down, so you can't even break down fats. So here you are, even if you did eat any food, you wouldn't be breaking it down to give you that energy boost anyways.
Okay.
Right? So finding...
This is the challenge.
Yes.
So what do you recommend for someone who is going to wake up in that state, that is in a go, go, go? How do they start?
I would 100%, if you can, just for the day of a big event like that, keep to fluids. Like make 3 shakes, take them with you in your cooler and just get the nutrients down, because at least with shakes, it's already broken down for you already.
Right.
So it's going to be easier for you to absorb, and it's not going to be, that, you have to sit down or whatever, because you're going to be on the go.
Right.
So ideally, I would say sit and drink the shake over a 15-minute period, if you could, if that's
If you
possible.
feel you're in a state of high stress.
Yeah.
Stick with a shake because you're going to get more nutrients. Correct?
For the day,
For the
that
day.
day. For the rest of the days, I'd want you on real food.
Yes.
Right, with the balance of the protein, carbs, and fat.
Right.
But even in the shake would have a protein powder, would have some type of carb in there, and it would have a little bit of fat.
Okay.
So I would even add maybe half teaspoon of coconut oil or something, or like you mentioned, avocado. Avocado is a healthy fat
Yes.
as well. You know, some people put almond butter in there as well. So some type of fat. So you have enough of protein and fat to sustain your energy for a long time.
Right.
Which is really good.
Okay.
You will not feel hungry at all.
So can I ask you if I am sticking with it, but I want to go into like the bloating portion of it. So if I'm a bride, and it is Friday night and I'm getting married Saturday at 3 p.m. Are there any foods I should stay away from on a Friday night that might have a tendency to make me feel bloated or make me feel uneasy or anything like that? Is there anything that you would suggest or recommend?
I think traditionally, it's kind of like we were talking earlier, anything that's heavy in pastas, so especially anything with gluten, so like heavy wheats or rye or anything like semolina, any of those weird wheat flours, you definitely don't want to have those.
And maybe stay safe, like eat what your body knows and don't do something, some
new.
Mexican dish or like
with lots of beans,
right? Because I think that can, because your body is really trained based on what you put in it, and so if you try something new and then all of a sudden it could even cause skin irritations or like a number of different things, right?
Yeah, that actually happened to me recently. Next to our office downtown, I had eggplant in this weird way at this really nice restaurant, totally kosher place, beautiful place, and anyways, within like 8 hours of having it, I was violently sick. I actually went back there and said, was anyone else sick? Was it just a bug? And so, no, it was actually the way that they prepared it. They put some spice in it that my body didn't like.
Wow.
Right? So 100% do not try anything new. Stay away from the heavy carbs and stay away from the heavy fats, like greasy fats, because that tends to cause a lot of like bowel issues.
So almost keep it green.
If you could.
You always feel good after you eat green. It's kind of like...
Yeah, totally. Okay. Or if you really wanted to keep it safe, I would have oatmeal. Yeah. Oatmeal, like the actual oats, it's a nervine. It actually helps calm the nervous system down, helps decrease blood pressure. So you want something really soothing and homey. Do you know what I mean? Yep. So adding some cinnamon to your oatmeal, adding some almond milk or coconut milk, add a little bit of the protein powder. Just have a nice bowl that's super soothing for the next day. You're ready to go.
So let's switch gears a little bit.
For sure.
Because we're talking nutrition, we're talking stress. And I think what's important to pair with all of this is the mindset.
Oh, yes.
Because you're going to be stressed. So how do you start to get yourself in a state of relaxation? Or maybe you're not going to relax. Like there's going to be a high stress situation happening. But like what's kind of a way to gear up and like try and calm yourself? Do you have any tricks or tips? Even if it's body movement or actual journaling, or like what are some of the things that people should try, do you think?
Yeah, for mindset stuff and mindfulness stuff. So is this for the party planners or are we talking for the brides?
Let's focus on our industry folk right now.
Okay. So for party planners, I think it would be amazing because whenever we talk about stress, we could always give them supplements for stress and they work fast. But there's nothing like doing the practice stuff that you're talking about, right? And so it is a practice. So if you're just starting out, I probably wouldn't start on the day of an event or something. Right. You'd want to start building up to it because it's taken me now, I'm like 2 years into meditating and breathing and doing this regular type of format. And it's still sometimes tough because it's a process and it's a practice. And I think that's the number one thing people need to know before they even start. It might feel weird, it might feel difficult, and some days you don't even want to do it. But it does get easier, and then you'll get into a flow. So that's the
time required for that, like you could even count it as 5 minutes. You just take. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. Is that right? As long as you're just taking time to focus.
Yeah. To actually unfocus.
Or to unfocus. Yeah. Focus on unfocus.
Focus on unfocus.
Okay.
So I'll tell you like a little bit about like my setup and kind of what I tell patients to do, right? So the first thing in the morning would be, let's say if I wake up at around 6 or 6:30, I'll wake up, I'll pull the pillow underneath my buttocks and I'll sit up into kind of like a breathing position. And minimum I'll do is right now I'm doing about 20 minutes. But when I first started, I was doing 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah. Literally just sitting there and just breathing for 5 minutes and just really centering yourself, allowing yourself just to kind of like, you can even say positive things to yourself and say, wow, I'm like happy to be alive right now. I'm so grateful to have a nice home, whatever you want to do. But you could just sit there and just breathe.
Right.
Just sit and breathe. That's it.
And focus on your breathing.
One of the tools that I learned from one of the sessions that I've gone to is something called a cube breath. And this isn't something that I do in the morning, but it is something that I do whenever it's a busy, stressful day and you need a moment just to catch yourself. And the cube breath is basically 4 counts. So you'd be inhaling, hold, exhaling, hold, inhaling, hold, exhaling, hold. So you're making a cube with your breath, and it's touted as like one of the most calming of breaths.
So if somebody does have a stressful day, then obviously breathing is going to be a key factor in helping you calm your stress.
100%.
Is there any apps or anything anyone could look at to kind of help with that if somebody needs kind of a reminder or a daily reminder or something to just take a moment and breathe? Is there anything you suggest?
Yeah. So one, if you didn't want to have an app, you could actually just use a timer on your phone and just put every hour. So every hour to take 1 full minute breath. And so what that is, normally 1 minute is about 5 to 6 breaths. So inhale.
Could that be the cube?
2. Yeah, you could do cube breath as well there.
Either way, as long as you're
just
taking.
Breathe. Yeah.
Okay.
So 5 to 6 breaths is about 1 minute. So you'd want to do 1 minute every hour. Just have your alarm going off. Then you have Insight Timer. That's a free app.
Okay.
You have a couple of the other ones that are paid. There's Calm, there's Buddhify, there's Headspace. There's one specifically by this neuroscientist. His name is Sam Harris. Have you heard of him? He does debates.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a pretty interesting guy. But anyways, he has one called, I think, Awake. And it's like a 10-day or 7-day program, 10-day program or something. And he basically just you listen to his voice and he kind of guides you.
Okay.
So it's a little bit easier, especially if you're starting out, to be guided. So you don't have to just like breathe on your own. You just listen to it. So those are great.
Okay.
And I would just say, just make it a priority and make it every single day for a short amount of time. So you get the consistency and the benefit of it for you to feel it, right?
I guess that's the biggest way to really build a new habit is through consistency. So if you just say, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you're going to pop up like you do, take a couple of breaths, and then when you don't do it, you start to notice, I missed that this morning.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right?
Long time ago, there was when I taught fitness classes and personal trained, and there was one of my marketing persons at the one gym, the Yorkville gym that I worked at. She would say, every time I meditate, she's like, I don't know what it is, but like everything works out for me. She's like, I get the elevator on time, and like, the bus arrives at the right time, and then I get to work and no one like pushes me, and then everyone's smiling. She's like, everything just works out so much better. And then the days that I don't breathe or calm myself or center myself in the morning, I'm like rushing and bustling and hustling, and it just feels so different. And that stuck with me. That was like years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, but it stuck with me. And now that I'm doing it, I can see that.
Yep.
Because instead of you going at society's pace or the pace of stress, you're actually, I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm okay. It's almost what you're telling your nervous system before you start the day, right?
Which is, I think, the first few minutes that you wake up are the key moments for your day. If you wake up late, then you're going to run into this domino effect of people pushing and cars and,
Everything else,
traffic,
right?
that kind of thing.
Perceived stress.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah. And she got to notice it. So then it created the fear almost of like, I have to do it today because I want to have a good day.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I don't know if she had fear. She was really she was looking forward to it.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
And think also if you can set your schedule so that you're going to bed a little bit earlier, if you can get rid of electronics before bed, like seriously, even an hour before bed, if you can turn off all your electronics, it will help you get deeper sleep so that you can wake up those 15 minutes earlier, those 10 minutes earlier to do your meditation. or to do your journaling, for instance.
Yep.
Journaling is another really nice piece, especially for really busy people, where you just take 10 minutes, or you can even do it for 5. I put my timer on 5 minutes, and then I start just writing first thing in the morning, dumping out any old emotions, old thoughts, old experiences, anything that I went through that I might still have in my mind, dumping that all out. And then by the end of it, after those 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay, got it. And then writing maybe 2 or 3 things you're grateful for, just to reset your day. So you're getting rid of those old emotions from yesterday and starting your day with blessings. Right. I'm so grateful that I have a safe home. I'm so grateful that I have a nice family. I'm so grateful that, I have feet and strong legs.
Right.
Just really being grateful, because we're almost always in not enough, or not worthy enough.
Yeah.
And just switching that frame so that the rest of your day is set up nicely.
Or even in reaction mode to a lot of things that happen. And it isn't until, and I've had this situation where you've hurt yourself, and then you can't do what you've normally done, which is go to the gym or whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden you realize how grateful you are that you actually have that mobility, or whatever it may be. But until it's taken away, you don't realize, which I think is the case for a lot of things in life. You don't realize, right?
Yeah, taking so many things for granted, right?
Yeah, so journaling is key. It's not something that I'm doing at the moment, but it could be. Toss it in there in the morning. Yeah,
just start even on the weekend. Just start on a Sunday. Just like literally, take a little time out of your day, find a spot, go to a coffee shop if you need to, and just write. You feel so like it's almost like a cathartic release. You're just dumping things out, we keep a lot of things in, right?
Yeah.
They say our bodies are our subconscious minds.
True.
Right? So we're storing things, and it's therapeutic to just let things go. And you don't necessarily have to talk to someone like a counselor or something, even though that's good too.
Right.
Right.
But sometimes you can, if you will do the work and dig deep enough, you can almost be your own.
Yes, we were talking about that earlier.
We were talking about that earlier.
That whole thing about why. So for example, you go through an experience, right? And you say, okay, why? Why do I feel like that? So you say you feel irritated about something. Why do I feel irritated? And you say, oh, because of this and this. But like really why? Why does that really make you? And then kind of being able to work through it, right?
So this has been good. There's been lots of super
Hopefully.
helpful pieces of advice, I think. And I definitely think that, the main message is really focusing on pre-prepping meals for energy, right? And keeping yourself hydrated. I really want to try this new electrolytes.
It's delicious.
Let's put the recipe in the link
Sure.
as well, so that people can try it out. I'm definitely going to try this.
Awesome.
Is there anything else, any last pieces of words or advice that you want to give to anybody, either in event industry or getting married or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, last pieces of advice. I think it's just to remember everything's a process, especially when it comes to health and improving your health. It's like society has this whole idea, take this pill and tomorrow you feel great. Nothing about health and restoring health and energy in your body happens like that overnight. It's a process. So you start with one thing like journaling. You might do it once a week for like the first 4 months, and then finally you'll get into a rhythm of it, and then you'll relapse, and that's okay. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you're not a failure if you don't continue to do something every single time, and if you're not being compliant. You don't need to put yourself down and say, oh, I should have done that, other people do it. It's more like just really, really honoring where you're at and doing the best that you can, because that's all we are all doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And not putting yourself down. Oh, and the other thing for sure is don't compare yourself to other party planners. Oh, she has 3 kids and it looks like she has her shit together.
Right.
No. Don't compare. Just focus on what you need to do. What's your next best thing? Like you were talking about the future self.
Right.
What would your future self want you to do at this moment? How would your future self want you to behave?
I think about that a lot, especially when it comes to work in general. But if there are projects that have deadlines, I always think about my future self, and I go, my future self, I literally say this out loud, my future self is going to thank me for doing this now, for investing the time to get these projects done. And then when it comes time, you're already set up to go, which kind of falls under time management and project management, things like that from a work perspective. But it is a sentence that
it's a mindset,
yeah, it's
right?
a sentence that's always coming out of me is my future self's going to thank me. And so when people ask questions or advice, I always go, your future self's going to thank you.
Yeah.
I do love that, though, because it's real.
That's so good.
Yeah.
But that's also you checking in with your highest self.
Right.
Right? Like, what is it that what you really need? Because you're like talking to her, right? Because a lot of people will go like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Meanwhile, if you go inward, and that's actually the beauty about breathing, when you start doing more breathing, you can actually calm the mind down and get those answers, you know? What is it that you need to do?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we end off, where do people find more information?
Okay, so if people want to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, www.andreia, ANDREIA, Christina, CHRISTINA.com. I know lots of vowels with the Portuguese name.
Yeah.
As well as you can go on Instagram, hashtag DREI Fox, Dr. Dre Fox.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, we will link it below in the video so people have access to it.
Yes.
And
I can 100% hand out any of these ideas for meals, the ideas for the electrolyte. I'm happy to share that with you.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be knocking on your door.
Great.
I think you have a lot of knowledge, and it's super fun to just sit and chat with you about certain things. So anytime, we'll come back and we'll give some more knowledge to the folks.
Amazing.
Sound
I
good?
hope this helps.
Yes.
And give us feedback for sure.
For sure, absolutely. Okay,
Great.
Cheers, my dear.
Cheers.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to hit the like button. You can also subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. Until then, thank you as always from the bottom of my heart for watching, and we will see you next time on the VIP Collective.